Alright, Alex Worth here with the Oregon Fly Fishing blog at the Caddis Fly Shop. We're going to be tying a little muddler today for some steelhead. Okay. Dog saying hi. I'm tying these on a size 1, 2151 Daichi hook. And let's just get this thing started here by getting the barb mashed in the jaws of our tying vise. Get it nice and situated there. Can be tying this with a Uni Thread 6.0 wine.
Hey Alex, what kind of hook is that?
It says 2151, size 1 and a size 1.
You probably said that.
I did, yeah. Gotta say it again. I like these for the muddlers because that's straight eye.
Oops.
Anything straight eye like this or down eye helps if you like to hitch your muddlers. I'm just gonna advance that thread down to the hook bend. I'm gonna just take some Pearlescent Mylar here. 3 wraps, not super tight, a little bit loose. What I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna pull it tight so that it starts to wrap itself around the shank. And then I'm gonna wrap down. This is just the tag behind the tail here, just a nice little trigger point that the fish can key into. Get the flashy. Wrapping it back up now, touching wraps, and secure it. Next, I'm going to take a golden pheasant feather. This is kind of from the shoulder area. I like to get the whole skin. I think these are kind of tough to find right now, but they are really awesome. I really like to buy the whole skin and just for creative fun, get to kind of figure out how to use a lot of the different feathers on the bird. This one's just a nice red color. Just strip some of the fluff out from in there. I'm going to roll this around on my fingertip like that just to get all these fibers kind of aligned with one another. I'm going to take it and tie it in by the back. And I'm just going to make those wraps nice and loose so I can pull this to the length I'm looking for. Just going to go right about a little bit past the hook bend. Perfect. Next, I'm going to take my first material that I'm going to wrap forwards and tie it in first. I've got some Lagartun oval tinsel and copper small. And I'm going to tie that in. 2 wraps. And I'm going to take another length of this Pearlescent Mylar tinsel. Cut it off. Tie that in slightly above that. 2 wraps. And then I'm going to take this Lagartun silk floss. This is kind of like a magenta pink color. Take a couple inches of that. This is a pretty short body, so I don't need a whole lot of it. I'm going to tie that in on the bottom here. 2 loose wraps. And then just pull that to length. Trim the stem of that tail feather to length. Trim this Mylar tinsel to length. Oh, read my mind.
Blew your mind.
And then I'm just going to take a couple wraps back there to the tail. Just trying to have a nice even underbody here.
Now Alex, how would you fish this?
I would fish this on the surface.
Excuse me, wait. How and where?
Where? I would fish this on maybe the Deschutes River. Might fish this on the old North Umpqua. Might fish this even kind of in town here on the Willamette for our local steelhead.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to fish this thing hitched on the surface, but it also fishes really well swung under the surface. You'll see in a little bit, I'm going to tie in deer belly hair for the front instead of doing like standard deer hair. I like to make it kind of messy and use the top part of the deer hair. I don't know what part of the deer it is. I know what part of the deer hair hank it is. And it's got kind of longer fibers in it, kind of looks like spay hackle, but it still is pretty buoyant. My dog is being an idiot. Rosie, what are you doing? Come here. Just wrapping this floss up. Notice here too, there are quite a few strands in the silk floss, and really just helps make that even, flat underbody. You can burnish this with like the back of your bobbin. You really don't need to. There's going to be very little silk actually even showing. It's just nice to have the brighter pink in the underbody here. I can just trim that off. I'm going to advance the pearlescent mylar forwards. Whoops, let go of that. Let me go for maybe 5 wraps here. And 5 it is. This is going to go in front of that. These lamps are so freaking hot. Trim all these out. Next, I'm going to do a little bit of a dubbing loop. Wrap the thread over my finger in one loop. Secure the loop. Take my loon dubbing spinner. And I'm going to use a little bit of STS Trilobal dubbing in Claret and some iced out in red. I'm just going to use a little bit of both. Not very much, just a little pinch here. I'll pull this out, make sure that's not all kinked up and knotted up. And then a smaller pinch here. That's actually maybe even a little bit much. That's good. Just going to take that all in one bunch, put it in my loop. Don't need to wax this or anything. And spin her up. I'm going to take this little finger brush. This thing is pretty beat up. I've had this for, I don't know, probably 3 years now. I've gotten a lot of use out of it. This is my favorite tool to use for picking out these materials in a dubbing brush, or dubbing loop rather. And then stick some touching wraps forwards, right up to where I finished off that thread. Awesome. Secure that dubbing loop. Next, I'm going to take another one of those golden pheasant feathers. This one's kind of more from the breast of the bird. This one's got a little bit longer fibers. And I'm going to strip off the fluff. Oops, I think I moved the vise a little bit there. I'm going to tie this one in by the tip. This feather's a little dirty. Fish don't care.
They like it that way.
They prefer it kind of dirty, yeah. I'm going to wrap this back too. I was just tying one of these, because I haven't tied one in a while. I was tying it for practice. And I pulled the feather out. Trim out the tip. Use the back of my scissors and kind of guide those top fibers rearwards. So maybe like 2 wraps out of this. 1, 2. Getting a little close to the eye for my liking. Alright, I did something a little bit silly here. I have a golden retriever. She's great. And you know what's even greater? The fur from my dog's butt. Makes great hair wing. And I didn't want to use polar bear for this.
Because it's
illegal.
Thank you.
And we don't want to do that. So if you got a golden retriever, this can work. Can suit your needs. You can also use Arctic fox. You can use maybe fin raccoon. You can use possum. There's a lot of different things you can use. I'm using dog fur. My dog doesn't mind. She needed a trim anyways. It's getting close to summertime. She's got too much fur. Alright, tie that in. It might be a little bit long. That's okay. Doesn't look too shabby. And then I've just got a couple pieces of Lady Amherst that I'm going to put on either side of that hair wing. And a couple on the other side of the dog butt fur. You can't get that at the shop. I'm sorry, this is primo material.
We'll put your phone number in the description below so you can...
Yeah, in case you want to reach out to me, I could source some material for you. I won't do that. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Time for our deer hair. Now what I was talking about is you can kind of see on the top part here versus the bottom part. The bottom part here, the fibers are really short, really thick. When you get to the top, they get a little bit thinner and a little bit longer. I'm going to take a fairly sparse amount here. You don't need that much deer hair to make this, even to skate. I'm going to take, well, maybe what, like a third of a Dixon Ticonderoga?
Yeah, I think that's about right. Number 2, HB.
The finest.
If you remember Scantron tests.
I do. I was not a fan of those. I think it's probably a pretty common sentiment too. I don't know anybody who would be a fan of a Scantron. Let's just all collectively repress those memories.
So anyway, that's the width that you're looking for.
Right about there. And I was off camera there. I was kind of stripping out the underfur there. Got a little off topic. Easy to get sidetracked. So I'm going to set up the ends here to be right about at the hook bend, and I'm just going to press this on the top, I'm going to move it to the other hand, and with both hands together, I'm going to just kind of move that around the hook shank, and then I'm going to spin my thread, cord it up so to make it a little stronger, and go 2 times around, and then on the third wrap I'll pull it tight, like that. And that'll kind of just seat it all nicely together. And I'm going to pull this back, sweep those butts backwards, and then slowly work my thread through here. I don't want to trap any of those deer hair butts. I want to keep those in there because those will kind of help with the buoyancy of the fly. Oops, sorry, move the vise. Wrapping through, and then trying to get up here in front of the... trapping too many in there. Wrapping through until we get to the front. Alright, I'm just gonna lay down about 15 thread wraps here. Create a little bit of a dam in front of that deer hair. And I'm gonna hand whip finish this. Not use a whip finish tool. And take the bobbin, bring that in.
I think that was a bodkin.
Bobkin, bodden.
Broden?
I don't know. I lost it there. Your fancy fly tying needle. And you can trim this, as much or as little as you like. I tend to leave these pretty long, but I will trim the bottom of this muddler fairly flat. That just kind of helps it to skate up on the surface. And I just have a little bit more confidence in it. I just like the way it looks. It's as I like. Just a little bit of an angle to this. To make for these scissor strokes to be a little bit more precise and accurate, I'll use my left hand to stabilize the scissors. You don't need to do that, but it makes your scissor strokes a lot better at going where you want them to. You won't end up trimming off a bunch of your hair wing or something like that and having to take more hair from your dog. Don't want a bald dog. That would be weird looking. All right, cool. This is probably my favorite colorway. You can do it mix and match your tail colors, your body colors, your hair wing color, your deer body hair or deer belly hair colors, and really just fill a box with a bunch of different colorways of this. It's a fun one to fish. You can get all of these materials except for the dog hair. that you can't get at the Cast Fly Shop. Everything else you can.
Unless Rosie's here.
Unless Rosie's here, and then she might be generous and feel like donating some to your fly tying stockpile. But yeah, reach out to us if you have any questions. Hope you guys tie some up. If you do, let me know if you catch any fish on them. I always get great joy out of that. Tie lines.